The next and final witness before the break is Lea Tsemal, please. Could you just explain a little about yourself to begin with, so people know why I'm speaking? Some won't, because you have a special...
Okay, but I'm a very old Israeli lawyer. I was practicing law for the last 41 years, and mainly in this field of occupation. Well, I was asked to give a brief description. Anyway,
thank you.
Those of you who have been to Israel know very well that once they get to the airport, they are asked by nicely dressed people, how are you this morning? How is the weather? Where have you been? And according to the answer, those guards will know whether you are an Arab or not and will decide what to do with you. The same about those couple of Israeli girl soldiers who would walk in the center of towns and will address special people, ask their names, write down their details, and let them go. And there is this story about an American tourist who came and met his nephew who was a guard near the Damascus gate, and he tells him, really, I don't understand. How can you differentiate between the Palestinians and the Israelis? They all look alike to me. You know, some of them are brown, some of them are dark, they have very similar features, etc. How do you know the difference? And the young soldier said, it's quite easy. I look at their eyes, and whenever I see Jewish eyes, I know it's a Palestinian. And Jewish eyes, referring, of course, to this attitude of a Jew in the Holocaust or in the Europe when he was chased and had the feeling that he has to hide himself, etc. And I was thinking quite often, even before coming to South Africa, before knowing I will come here, guarding the young Palestinians, those from the occupied territories or those from Israel, and watching this habit of them to disguise themselves, to look more Israelis. I see these youngsters who walk around, short trousers already, and standing up hair. Those who gave up their special accent of Ain or Het or Ar and start talking this flat conversation of the Israelis. Those young Palestinian students in the universities who have the John Lennon eyeglasses, and they look like anyone else. And I kept asking, you know, they can disguise themselves. Maybe they will be one. Nobody will know the differences one day in the future. But what does a man whose color is different? What does a man who cannot disguise himself do? How does he live? How does he go about? And I thought, I didn't end this thinking yet, it's still open. I thought perhaps those who cannot disguise themselves will finally abolish the discrimination. And those who can disguise themselves will be more and more soft about it. We'll see the end. Anyway, I came to talk about laws. And I think that the laws in Israel are the best laboratory for every law student in the world. Because looking at the laws, you know how flexible they can be and how helpful they can be to any regime. The first example I wanted to give is a bill that was put on the Knesset table on the 3rd of August 2011. It aims at changing the existing law about citizenship that prevents temporarily spouses and children of an Israeli who live in the occupied territories or in any other Arab hostile country to become citizens or residents of Israel. It's very complicated. I will not get into this short time into all the story, but you should know that the right of Israelis to live with families from the occupied territories, Palestinian families, and most of those Israelis are, of course, Palestinians, the right is pretty limited. Now, this new bill offers to turn this temporary law into regular, constant law. It's not so important. What is important is the explanation to the law. What do they say? They say this suggested law serves a very essential purpose: to prevent mass immigration of Arab population, hostile Arab population, to the area of Israel that can cause an extreme change in the demographic structure of the state and shake the Jewish majority in it. It's a free translation. And still they say, the state of Israel is first and utmost the state of the Jewish people, and the character and the Jewish nature of the state are supreme value. Therefore, it should be anchored in the legislation. If not, the main existence of the state as a Jewish state is in a real danger. And the last citation says, the orders of the major law are the last barrier before the implementation in the back door of the right of return of the Palestinians. But this is only a suggestion, and it's only citation. The problem is, of course, that once you afford yourself in the Israeli parliament, that's considered itself the only democracy in the Middle East, to say without apology, to say these racist words, to declare your racist purposes, I think this is the crucial moment. This is the moment when such a tribunal should sit and make decisions. But there are many other laws, and I have collected here, not I collected, sorry, Adala has collected here, from the recent year and a half, new laws and bills that relate to our question. I think it relates to our question quite directly. There are the laws, the land laws, that say that from now on it is possible to purchase and sell all the lands that were taken from the Palestinian refugees. I'm talking about 93% of the land of the state of Israel out of the big cities, and to sell it privately. It also says in the addition who is allowed to buy this land. You cannot sell the land to anybody. In Israel, it will not be allowed to sell or to rent, to lease for more than 5 years any property if the person who buys it or rents it is not a citizen or a resident. Or they add, in brackets, or he is not a person who is not a citizen and not a resident that is entitled to become a citizen of Israel according to the law of return. These are the legal words that shout quietly discrimination. Because whatever is applicable to a citizen of a state or to a resident of the state is also quietly applicable to a person, a Jewish person all over the world. In other words, of course, Palestinians will be described as strangers if they want to buy their own, even personal land, but a Jew from all over the world can acquire land. Another law already, it's a very private law, I call it Azmi Bshara law, says that a law to strip payments from a current or a former member of the Knesset due to a crime, never mind if a person was not found guilty and didn't commit a crime. Another bill, I just bring some few bills of many others, bill awarding preferences in services to former soldiers. It's very clear, only we should remember that the former soldiers are almost all of them, the big majority are Jews who serve in the army, the Palestinians do not serve in the army, and then they are entitled to payments, to tuitions, to rights of employment, and to purchase property or land with much cheaper prices. There is a new law to revoke citizenship for acts defined as espionage and terrorism. Of course, we know whom it relates to. And the law says that whoever breaks the trust or whoever breaches the offenses of breaches of trust or disloyalty to the state. Now, what is disloyalty to the state? We learn it from another existing law, the Nakba law, for instance. The Nakba law says that the Minister of Finance is entitled to reduce the state money that is funding different organizations. I'm reading and citing. If an institution holds an activity that rejects the existence of Israel as a Jewish and democratic state, or commemorates Israeli Independence Day or the day or the day of which the state was established as a day of mourning. This is the character of the state that everyone should offer. I'll shorten as much as possible. All right. Another bill is the bill that will probably become a law to impose loyalty oath on everyone who asks to have Israeli citizenship or becomes 16 and gets an Israeli ID card, and it says in the suggestion that it shows the Jewish, Zionist, and democratic state. It is the symbols and its values, and a person should swear to this. I'm shortening. There are many new laws that prevent even more the right of political prisoners under interrogation, the isolation, the prevention of seeing a lawyer, the prevention of visiting a lawyer in the future. I'm cutting this too. And there are different laws that relate to our activities or to similar activities or to activities of NGOs. For instance, there is a law passed in 2011 that obliges every organization to publish the funding that was received by foreign governments, etc., 4 times a year, against, and other laws against other activists. And there is a bill that prohibits imposing a boycott, I'm citing, to make any activity conducted by Israeli citizens and residents that promote any kind of the boycott against Israeli organization, individuals, and products, actionable of civil wrong. People can pay up to 30,000 shekels if they do such a thing. And then, very important, is the universal jurisdiction bill, still a bill, that seeks to outlaw associations that provide information to foreigners or are involved in litigation abroad against senior officers of the Israeli government and or army officers for war crimes. Okay? They know what we think of. They are already ready. There is another bill to protect the...
Lea, I think I'm going to have to... I'm sorry about this. We've let you run on.
Here, I'm about to finish just the last.
That's the last one, okay.
Okay. And there is also... Okay, I will not talk about it.
I think you
what
have
I wanted to say, exactly.
You have a large number of important...
what I wanted to say is that on the question, dear jury, on the honorable jury, on the question whether there is apartheid or there isn't apartheid in Israel, I think I rest my case. Thank you.
Well, that was going to be the first question. We've got time for a few. In other words, a prerequisite for us to establish apartheid or the policy of apartheid within Israel, there has to be a systematic regime of domination. I mean, it may seem obvious, but is that really the situation? As a summary of what you've been saying.
I think this is the situation. And you will realize it very soon when there will be a new bill that states that any Israeli citizen or resident who talks about apartheid in Israel will be punishable, etc. I think it's on the agenda.
Cynthia?
Oh.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When Ehud Barak used the word apartheid to describe Israel, what exactly did he mean? And was he referring to the situation specifically inside Israel as well?
I thought he was relating to the need to separate between Palestinians and Israelis. And I don't think that for a moment he would agree to call Israel an apartheid state. But that's what I think is the situation.
Alice?
I have this question. Under the Loyalty Act, what would be the consequence of refusing to declare loyalty to the State of Israel? Does it entail rebutting one's Palestinian identity?
It's a very difficult question because right now we don't know. It's not been implemented yet. But I think that if someone will refuse to make this loyalty oath, he will be denied of many rights, especially rights that are dependable. For instance, if he has this process of family reunification, he would be declared as a danger to the state, and therefore he will not get this right. If he needs to have a permit, he will not get that specific permit. If he needs any benefit from the state, he will be denied that benefit. I don't think they will throw them away, but this is the situation. I also wanted to add a short point only. You should know that now every person Palestinian who receives somehow a status in Israel has, first of all, to gain a Palestinian passport. Now, you should know Palestinian passport, there is such a thing that is recognized by Israel. And although Israel doesn't recognize a Palestinian state, but they initiate a Palestinian passport in order to encourage people to get some kind of Palestinian identity, so that in the future, when those many residents will be denied their residency, they will not be stateless. So there is already a preparation of so many residents who are not Israeli citizens, but they are Israeli residents. Once they will be denied of their residency, they will have an alternative residency, which is that Palestinian empty, by now empty still, a passport.
Thank you. There's a final question here. I'm sorry, we're running out of time, but there is one more. The emergency laws and their relationship with apartheid, just can you expand on how the two feed into each other?
Emergency laws we have inherited from the British, 1945. And they are very similar to the laws that were in India. I don't know about South Africa, but these were the laws. And they are there. They are not being used a lot inside Israel. They are used in the occupied territories. But they are these tools, these cannons, I would say, the weapon in order to oppress any political action. You cannot be associated. The state can punish you collectively, the street, the house, the neighborhood, if necessary. House demolitions. People can be arrested, of course, administratively. People can be deported from the country. It's a big arsenal of many legal tools how to deal with uprising.
Lea, thank you very much. A break? Yes, a little break now. Thank you very much for your help.